You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
To 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into a Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning. The X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson and at Wimp Sanderson 1. Email address for the show if you want to shoot us an email, that's wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. We talked about the app. Download that Tide 100.9 app to your smartphone and you can take us with you anywhere you go. Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. Guys, always remember, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you certainly don't want it. If you're going to build the fence, the deck, the pergola, you want that 5-star backyard, then you go to yellowwood.com, you put the zip code in, you can find the dealer that is closest to you. You got Chase, as always, behind the glass. Chase, did you feel like you got an extra hour's sleep last night?
Thank you, Jesus.
So... Anyway, you stare at the clock, but it gets dark early, though. We had a little baseball scrimmage yesterday. It was getting dark, and then Mac got sick on the way home, and he's been throwing up all night. So that's not good. Got the stomach bug, so Mama's at home with him this morning. Good morning, Dad. How are you this morning?
I'm okay. Not a whole lot to talk about. The Florida Georgia game was a lot closer than the score indicated. We have all the teams in the league and have lost a game. Certainly, South Carolina played off so well. They got a couple of fumbles and made a couple of really big plays in the game, which was big for them. And of course, they're pretty good defensively. They go to Vanderbilt this week, and we'll see what happens there. Ole Miss ran away from Arkansas, which, if anybody told us it scored 63 points against Arkansas, you'd be surprised. So the rest of it went about the same. We'll just see what happens as far as the committee is concerned. I had a chance to do a whole lot of prep work. So we've got a crowded field with the 12 teams, and that's a couple of things to say, but I've forgotten what I was going to say this morning. That's about it for me.
Yeah, Alabama, Dad and Chase, not playing over the weekend, honestly got some help. Iowa State gets knocked off there, so that helped. Clemson had not played a team with a winning record, and they get beat pretty bad. So that helps Alabama because Clemson was ranked ahead of those guys. So I would probably anticipate now with this initial poll, I would think Alabama would be 10, 11, 12, probably 11 and 12. LSU would be right behind them, but this would kind of be a losers out kind of game. And Chase, as I look at the SEC, it's a little bit strange right now. As you said, everybody's lost a game, but some teams have played 6 games and some teams have only played 4. So Georgia at 5-1, Texas A&M 5-1, Tennessee 4-1. Texas has only played 4 conference games. They're 3-1. Vanderbilt now 3-2. Ole Miss 3-2, and Alabama currently 3-2. So they've played 5. There's a scenario to where about 5 of these teams, if Ole Miss were to knock off Georgia and A&M beat Texas at the end of the year, you could have like 5 teams 10-2. And if that happens, I don't know what in the world. The tiebreakers as far as who gets to Atlanta, I don't know if that would be how the committee decides who gets in this playoff. But if it all, and let me tell you who they got. Georgia down in the league.
I know the leagues.
I understand that, but you're going to get. But if those 5 teams are 10-2, how are you going to differentiate between them? Because there's not a lot of there's people say, well, if you go head to head, well, a lot of these teams haven't played. Georgia and Alabama have, Tennessee and Alabama have. But Georgia has at Ole Miss and Tennessee at home left. A&M has at Auburn and Texas left. That's all they have left in the league. Texas has Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky, and at A&M. LSU has Bama. LSU's only 3-1. Is that right? LSU, yeah, 3-1. They've got Bama at Florida, Vandy, and it looks like who's that last game there? I can't read my writing. Oklahoma. Ole Miss has Georgia. They can't afford another loss at Florida, Mississippi State, and Vandy, who's still in, has South Carolina at LSU and Tennessee. Vandy's probably not in it because they've lost 3 total games now. But if all those teams ended up 10-2, I don't know what the committee will do. I think the committee's going to have a tough job when it comes down to getting to this 12.
Well, I was trying to look at LSU's schedule.
They've got Bama at Florida, Vandy at home, and Oklahoma at home.
Well, they've got a better. I don't know if they have better. It's about the same. Alabama and LSU about the same. I don't know that either one of them will get in. I think it's going to be close myself. We have eliminated one team out of the ACC probably, with Clemson losing, which means we really don't have anybody out of the ACC except Miami, I assume. And
well, you got SMU. SMU.
They went in there. SMU will be in there. Yeah, I forgot. I keep wanting SMU to be in the western part. I forgot there.
Yeah, they're undefeated in the ACC right now, 5-0.
Sure, that's a big win for them. So we'll see. The Indiana won the blue plate on that, so I won double blue plates. Indiana just killed Michigan State, and so it was a good win for them. They're hard to beat. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and then, over the weekend, obviously in the state, UAB, I think you were wanting to maybe blue plate that, which, good lands. How bad is Tulsa? They absolutely smacked them. But Auburn, there's not enough being said about this. So Hugh Freeze fired the offense coordinator and said he was going to call the plays. They looked awful. They scored a whopping 7 points. Why is there not more talk about now that he's the offensive coordinator about how bad this offense is for Auburn? Because it is absolutely pathetic right now.
Well, they got. I don't think their passing catching is very good. Everybody says we need to go to the running game, and they do. They got stopped. So when Vanderbilt holds you 7 points, originally we felt like that they were throwing in double coverage all the time, or throwing to somebody who's already covered and getting intercepted or not completing it. So Auburn's best thing Auburn can do is try to hold on to what they've got, recruiting wise, and that's about all you can say about them. They're not doing anything, not going anywhere, and it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be firing, but we'll see.
No, there won't be a firing, but I think the seat will be hot next year. All right, real quick, before we get to break, we'll open the phone lines. The new AP polls out. Oregon won. Georgia, honestly, who did not look very good. We'll give Florida credit. Maybe Florida did look good. Now, Florida, they may not win many more games because the schedules. Yeah, but they still played well. So I hope Billy Napier survives down there. I think it would be a mistake. I think he's got them still playing hard in a difficult situation. Ohio State 3, Miami. Duke was up there for a while, then Miami just poured it on. Their offense is probably the best offense in the country. Texas at 5, Penn State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana Not sure if their name was anything other than Indiana, they'd be ranked in the top 4, but they are currently number 8. BYU undefeated in the Big 12, number 9. Notre Dame 10. Alabama comes in 11. Boise State, SMU, LSU, and Texas A&M. Ole Miss currently at 15. Iowa State fell 6 spots to number 17. And Pitt was another team that was kind of nipping at Alabama's heels. They got destroyed.
Again, that's not the same thing as where they're going to seed them, and that's the reason I brought that out the other day. It's not necessarily how they look now; it's how they're going to be seeded.
Well, we'll know tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the first, and I think that first poll is kind of critical to give you. And there's some matchups to where LSU, Alabama will take care of itself. So if you rank them 11 and 13, it'll come to a head come Saturday night in Baton Rouge. All right, we'll take the first break. We'll open up the phone lines 205-342-9904. 2 minute truck there at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. Whether it's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. They'll take great care of you and your stuff and take the stress away. 205-247-5050. 2 men in a truck, movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. Governor Ivey was given fluids and evaluated on site out of precaution after she suffered a medical issue while campaigning for the 2nd District Congressional GOP candidate Caroline Dobson last night. The 80-year-old state chief executive grabbed a nearby pole, was seen shaking as staffers gathered around her. Her press office later issued a statement saying she was doing well at home. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We do still have some heavies over on 2059 northeast lanes at Keens Mill Road. Now, this is an accident knocking out a lane, so you've got all kinds of traffic delays in the area. And it's also still very tight on Highway 11 in the eastbound.
Get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Many Tuscaloosa customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the locker room, Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, there we look at some top 25 games this week, but we'll look at that here in just a minute. But let's get to the Yellowwood hotline and get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hope y'all doing good today.
How are you, buddy?
Doing good. I'm starting to look forward now instead of looking at what teams have done. And I'll tell you, the team, to me right now, as far as the SEC goes, that I think is in really good shape. And I'll preface it by saying I don't think Georgia is this unbeatable, immovable force. Tennessee, they've got Mississippi State next. Then they go to Georgia. Then they play UTEP and at Vandy. It's lining up very well for them. If they can clear through Georgia, they're going to be in the SEC championship game.
Give me that schedule again. That was one I didn't pull up for some reason. Who they got left? Tennessee. No, I got it. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Who they got?
Yeah, they got Mississippi State at home. They go to Georgia. I think Georgia is iffy. I think Georgia is very beatable. Matter of fact, I would not be surprised to see Georgia lose to Ole Miss and Tennessee.
Yeah, and they end up with Vanderbilt at the end of the year. Is that game at Vandy?
It is at Vandy.
Yeah.
I just think Tennessee can really, they can make some things happen, and got a pretty hot passing game. They've got a physical running game. They play pretty good defense. It's lining up pretty well for them right now. Yeah. And then of course the other team could be Texas A&M and Texas.
What are the I hadn't studied it. I'll study it later. But what are the tiebreakers in the SEC? Is it first tiebreaker head to head?
There, I'd have to look at it. I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty detailed. They go at several levels, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't really studied that. I know they've got one, but
I think you're going to have to end up using it, but I think you're going to have a lot of teams at the same record there at the top.
LSU and Alabama's going to eliminate each other this weekend, so that's one off the list. We just don't know which one. So that'd be a team there that's in the running. And then you got, if Ole Miss can knock off Georgia, they are most certainly in the running. Tennessee, same thing. Texas A&M and Texas and Georgia. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 teams right now. 6 teams are clearly have a path. One's going to get knocked out this weekend with the Alabama LSU game. Huge game. Is Alabama tough enough to do it, Barry? Are they tough enough mentally to do it?
And, I'm worried about this because I need Ole Miss to lose 3 games. They absolutely just destroyed Arkansas. Georgia got a lot of injuries in this particular game Saturday. Going over to Oxford. If Georgia wins that game, then Ole Miss is eliminated. Dad, who wins that game? That line's 2.5. Georgia's 2.5-point favorite. It looked like Lane Kiffin was trying to impress the committee. He was pouring it on Arkansas, throwing all over the field there. Dad, who wins this game, Georgia or Ole Miss?
I think it's all according to how many people are hurt at Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia did not have a bad game. I don't go by didn't have a bad game. Since you had a bad game, you're going to be bad the next one. I don't believe that stuff. I think you can, when you've got a team the way Georgia is, you can bounce back and play well. You may not, but one game. The only way one game affects another game is by injury. That's the key. They're not going to out-coach each other. It's just according to how many Georgia people are back and are able to play. Ole Miss is good at times, and when as bad as Arkansas was, and Green got hurt in the game. But that didn't have anything to do with their defense, but it certainly hurt them offensively. So I think Georgia's awfully good. I wouldn't bet against them particularly. Who's the favorite? Georgia.
Georgia 2.5. Carson Beck just has not played well.
He has not played well.
He keeps throwing interceptions.
Phil's right about that, but about him not playing well. But I think he's very capable of playing well, but he has not played well, and they've kind of looked through it, and to some degree they looked a little bit through the Florida game. That doesn't mean they won't. Sometimes when you look through and win, the next game you get their attention a little bit better. Of course, they had their attention for Florida, and Florida very unfortunately got the quarterback hurt, and that was a killer for them.
Yeah, now Texas gets another break. Florida goes to Texas. Absolutely beat to smithereens. So Texas, they don't really have a good win on their schedule, Phillip, but they're going, they're going to have to play A&M at the end of the year. But, and what did I tell you about Williams-Brice, man? Woo! How electric was that place on Saturday night?
It was, and I wasn't surprised by that outcome. I was not surprised at all.
And, I was worried. I thought it was going to be same old South Carolina. They came out on fire, and then when they got that thing to 20-20 at the half, I said, And then they just dominated the second half.
South Carolina's got a really physical team. They've got a good team. And, I just, as an Alabama fan, I just hope Alabama can be stout mentally Saturday. I read somewhere last night there could be a lot of rain pouring into that area this weekend. Did you hear that?
Well, there's a hurricane coming, and there's different You're supposed to be kind of near that Mobile area, kind of in that on Friday. So I don't know what that means for Saturday. If it's I don't know who that favors, if there's a rain going through there, but I think it's a little bit early. There was 2 different forecasts on where the weather was going to be over the weekend. So it's something to be watching for sure.
Will there be late season drama at Auburn?
Will there be what?
With Freeze? Will there be late season unexpected drama at Auburn with Freeze?
You talking about them letting him go?
Maybe.
Yeah. I just don't see
They will fire a coach.
Huh?
They will fire a coach down there.
Yeah, I just don't see. I don't see that, Dad. Right? They got to give him another, especially with this recruiting class, if they can hold on to it.
I think they leave him alone this year, regardless.
Yeah, you can't.
There'll be a lot of, there'll be some of the boosters who'll drop their money back and won't do. But I think that the biggest thing that the athletic director will settle on behind the scenes is we've got something coming. Just hold on with us. And they have a lot of love for their school. I
will say those high-level recruits that they got, though, they may have to pay them a little bit more to keep the commitment, Philip, to be honest with you.
That's the point I'm making. If those guys don't want to pay, then there's your problem.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I look forward to the comments the rest of the week and take our minds off of everything else. So really enjoy everything about y'all.
Yeah, Alabama hoops tonight, 25.5-point favorite. They say Reitzel, Sherrill, and Nelson will play. One guy said they'll limit their minutes. I'll be interested to watch the rotation tonight, Philip, with Alabama hoops opening the season.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then we play again Friday night at home against Coach Hodgson's team.
Yeah, Arkansas State will be coming in, so
that'll be good. But
a lot of hoops on tonight. You can watch Kentucky tonight. So,
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Favorite time of the year.
See y'all. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and get the break here. We'll get Max Howell in. We'll find out what Max thinks about the games this past weekend. We'll look forward to the games coming up on Saturday with Max. This is Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We do still have some heavies over on 2059 northeast lanes at Keens Mill Road. Now, this is an accident knocking out a lane, so you've got all kinds of traffic delays in the area. And it's also still very tight on Highway 11.
800-426-1886. 800-426-1886. That's 800-426-1886.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Sky partly sunny today, the high 79. Tonight mostly fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Wednesday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine both days with a chance of scattered showers. Afternoon highs very close to 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Inside the the locker room, still trying to run down Max Howell. We want that Yellowwood, though. They make this 7 o'clock hour possible. Guys, always remember, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, real quick, if teams are tied, that at the end of the year, the first tiebreaker is always, which it should be, is head-to-head competition among the tied teams. So, obviously, if Alabama were tied with Tennessee, the head-to-head, they took that, so they would win. But Georgia, they'd have the head-to-head over Georgia. Record versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams. So if there's pretty self-explanatory versus 4 teams that are tied, then you take your record against those if you have any common opponents there. A record against highest placed common conference opponent in the conference standings and proceed through the conference standings among the tied teams. That would be the third tiebreaker there. Then the cumulative winning percentage of all conference opponents among the tied teams. The fifth one capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents among the tied teams. Scoring margin, so that may be why Lane Kiffin is running it up. And then random draw of the tied team. So if that's what happened. All right, we got him. Let's get to the Yellowwood hotline. He's a former assistant football coach at Florida State and Ole Miss. Radio personality throughout the South. Joins us every Monday to talk college football. Max Howell. Good morning, Max.
Hey, guys. How y'all this morning?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Max,
is it a good rule to run the score up in order to be darn sure that you get a little bit? That's what Ole Miss did yesterday. That's one of the criteria for getting in the final 12 out of the league. I don't know if that's a great idea. I guess maybe, if you win 10-9 or something, it's somewhat different than the committees.
Coach, I think it's strong. Also, to strength, they measure that with strength of schedule. The strength of that particular team on your schedule.
Well, I don't think that's quite fair because the strength of schedule is not for the league. As we pointed out, Texas has got, it's not even close on some of them. Some of them are.
That's very true. Very true.
Not right.
And I think that question about the scoring, has always been there. Back when they were selecting on bowl the BCS and all those procedures that they went through, that was a question about if you do that. And I watched that ball game, and Lane didn't sub. He didn't sub much, but he had 3 top wide receivers out on top of that now. Of course, he's going to throw it. He's going to throw it 34 times.
Green got hurt, and so
right.
that didn't affect him defensively, but certainly affected him a little bit.
Well, I think the system is still, it's the first time, and I think the committee is going to have to give some give and take based on even what they set of the criteria to get in. And I think that'll change, from year to year until this thing gets ironed out. I mean, we're still fighting through the NIL and the portal and all the things that go through in a major change in a system that we have gone to with college football, and I don't think this is going to be any different. Coach, y'all been in the basketball even with 64. You had to end up with 68 with playing games.
Yeah.
When you get down toward the bottom,
the basketball part gets pretty political. I don't know that it will.
Well, I can imagine.
You got 4 coaches.
That's true.
Got 6 athletic directors, and
very true.
I don't really like 2 former players on there myself. But that's what they've got. 2 former players, and they have 1 media guy who is not working now.
Well, that's the politics.
Well, it's even the AP, it's helmet rankings. Like Indiana, Max, they're 8. They should be higher than 8. They should be above Tennessee, Penn State, Texas. If you want to have Ohio State ahead of them, fine. Maybe Georgia, fine. But these guys, they scored 47 unanswered points over the weekend at Michigan State. They have blown everybody out, but their name's Indiana. They're coming in at 8 now. It's not right. These guys should be in the top 5.
I know, but what the procedure they used is where they started. where they started from. So that tells you either up front they didn't realize they were going to be that good, and maybe Indiana didn't realize they were going to be that good. Things sometimes come together, You particularly now with a transfer, you bring them in. You don't have a great book on them, on these kids that coming in. They may have been somewhere else and not had a chance, or not gotten along with the coaching staff or whatever. And all of a sudden they get to the right place, and boom, there they are. It all comes together for them. And all they can expect to do is just keep winning. And this first year, I think the chips going to have to just fall where they may. That's why I say I think we're going to get some evolution on this thing as it goes down. And I do think it's a better system than we've had before, because it really includes a lot more people, a lot more teams, and it's going to spread the wealth some.
Yeah, LSU and Alabama were open. They moved up because they didn't play. People below them, Clemson, Iowa State, people like that got beat, so they jumped them.
Yep.
Alabama had problems with the crowd noise at Tennessee. You saw Milroe walking up and down the line. You know that crowd's going to be absolutely crazy Saturday night. Tell us what you see in this game, Max.
Well, I think no doubt that's going to happen. Of course, through the years, that's nothing new. But for LSU at night games, I think Lane was one of Lane's complaints too about LSU always got the night games.
Yes.
He wanted another team, another game at night for Oxford and so forth. But bottom line is, I don't know if you ever been there at night down there. I've been on the sideline a couple of times in Baton Rouge on a game like that. Guys, you can't hear. I mean, you can't hear standing on the sidelines talking to somebody. But that's not the only stadium in the conference like that. Florida's just as bad when they're playing, when they have a crowd, because of the way the stadium's put together. But back to that one, I hope Coach DeBoer is ready for that. I mean, he got a little introduction to it at Tennessee, and what they saw up there in preparation for that game. I'm sure they're working during the week with loud noises in the practice sessions with records or whatever they're using to pipe it in. But I think sometimes if you make your system simple and you can go on a silent count, every program's got a silent count now, and they got a tap where the lineman can tap up and down the line, and they know the quarterback can do it, and they work on that. I hate to see that cause some miscues, but remember, it's just as loud on the other side as it is for Melrose and the Alabama bunch. LSU has to work on it as well. So I think it's going to be one heck of a ball game. LSU's gotten better each week. I think Alabama should go down there and win, but they're going to have to play their best ball game, I think, to win that this week. There's a lot on the line. The team that loses is out.
Yeah.
There's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
I think both teams are not as good as the rest of the league. I think there's been a lot more games down there. There's been greater teams than those two. But that's just my thought. Where do we stand with Auburn and what happened with them?
Coach, I don't know. I mean, I just made some notes when they fired Hardson. His record was 9-12 in the SEC, and that's what the coaching staff's got going over after them right now. The same thing.
They're still paying three coaches.
Yeah, that's
it's something. I understand your money didn't run out, but sometimes your money does run out with certain people.
Yeah, it does, but you also you put yourself in that position again. See what I mean? There's kind of a pattern that has developed for whatever reason. I mean, everybody knew what was going on. I think with why they hired Coach Freeze and brought him in, but the fact is it hadn't. There's something about the communication inside. I see that they aren't getting the right guys, and then maybe some of the assistants that they brought in. I don't know. It's something wrong.
Let me tell you this, and let Barry have it. The pool of hiring head coaches, of coaches that you think are successful, is not there. There's not a pool of head coaches that will leave and go there that have been very, very successful, and you gamble when you take an assistant.
I know that.
It used to be there was a pool, At times when they went all assistants, other times they went all head coaches. But right now, it's not the pool.
Sure. Well, is it been identified? Is it the reason is the money's gotten so big at some of the places? Either the money's not going to be there, or is it the fact is that it's some internal problems there that somebody, the word's out, they don't want to go to work under it or within it.
They hired the guy. They wanted him over Lane.
Yeah, I know. I remember you and I talking about that. And the fact is, I don't know. That's a hard one. That's not really a hard one. I mean, he was successful at Liberty, but after he left Ole Miss, he was successful there.
He beat Alabama twice. That was a big thing.
Yeah. Well, but you think it just appeared to me that, of course, after Coach Saban stepped down, that was a chance for Auburn to get back in the game, particularly in the state of Alabama. But I just hadn't seen any moves yet to see. Even if you didn't do anything with the head coach, what about the assistants? That's where all the work takes place. Yeah. And what about the selection of players?
Yeah, he fired some assistant coaches last year.
Well, he fired the coordinator and said he was going to call the plays. He may need to fire himself as the offensive coordinator, Max.
Well, sometimes you have a hard time looking inside when you got all the power. I don't know. That's a hard question. That may be one of the hardest questions anybody's got to answer. You know good and well the folks at Auburn's asking each other that now. What is going on? But now, but here's the thing, guys. We're all overlooking what Vanderbilt's been able to do. Even when Alabama gets beat by them. My point was that with that new staff that came in, I don't believe somebody along the way has not gone back and looked at what they were doing when the people they brought from New Mexico up there at Vanderbilt. So they pull that thing together out of nowhere almost. But another thing with that came is the system they run on the offensive system. How many times do you see the read option takes place anymore in that level? Nobody. Defense stopped that with big defensive ends and the linebackers that were taking the pitch and forcing the quarterback to run. And then when the quarterback runs off that play, you're going to get him hurt.
The problem is Auburn had played against them playing that way and still didn't stop it very well. Oh, they did stop it better. I guess they did. I guess they stopped it better.
Yeah, I think the newness, first of all, of where Vanderbilt has been versus where they are today, catches. This first year has caught a lot of teams off. I mean, I really do believe that. But we can't take it away from Vanderbilt. I mean, they brought that in, they created that, and here we are. With 6 wins now. And I don't even remember the number of years. I mean, I'm sure you guys have had that, but I didn't even look up how many years it's been. I know it's been 50 or 60 since they beat Alabama and Auburn in the same year. But that's that's another movement in this development that I think we're going to have to acknowledge when coaches change. That the teams that they play, you better do their homework, or they're going to end up getting beat by by historically what's been the worst team in the conference.
Yeah, I don't know what. I guess portal money, whatever's. You got parity now in college football. You don't have any idea what's going to happen from one week to the next. Georgia just look okay at times, and Florida played well. I guess even with the quarterback out, Georgia goes to Ole Miss this weekend. A must win for Ole Miss if they still want to stay in contention for anything as far as the 12. The line's 2.5. Matt Carson Beck not playing very well. Throws a lot of picks. How do you see this game going? This probably got to be one of the biggest games in Ole Miss history.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Lane knows that too. And I think he's he'll do everything he can. I think they basically held the Harris kid out for this ball game. I mean, I think he's leading the nation in yards after the catch right now. And that'll be a prime target for him. And I don't think Lane will do anything that that's unusual to anybody. He's going to line up and throw it. He's going to try to take advantage. Georgia was without a couple of defensive backs this past week. How bad the injury was, I don't know. They don't talk about injuries anymore. They don't release that. So Beck came back down to earth and was looking normal. He got frustrated for some reason. I don't know whether Florida was showing him different looks that he hadn't seen before. But there was something he was, in essence, trying to blame it on his wide receivers a couple of times. I know on one pattern it was supposed to have been a hitch, and the kid ran a slant and he threw the ball behind him. It was a critical, I think, third down that they needed that first down. He went to the bench and hung his head. And I think the communications with certain kids, it appears to me, and I know Kirby and him probably prepares it as well as anybody in the country. But I go back to thinking about that is it been on some teams when you show tapes during the week of your opponent and they don't look very good. It's in today's kids, guys. It's hard to get them up when you go to practice because they ought to say, "Well, I know I'm going to beat that guy because I just watched him in 3 different ball games and he got beat by everybody that played against him." But then all of a sudden, and hats off to them that they were able to pull that thing together and play. Florida did and play a decent ball game, and and probably got their hopes up on how much if basically if Nick is going to save his job or not more than anything else. I don't know where that decision's finally been made. So we say all that. How much do we know of all the talk about basically? About Kiffin going to Florida, with all that talk that was coming out and circulating around, he had to have heard it or how much he participated in it. My mind, I thought those kind of conversations went on between Jimmy Sexton and and the universities. If that was the case, it was going to be. So I think there's a lot of stuff that's circulating right now about Ole Miss and about the way Georgia's played. That's why the line's really down so low. I don't think there's any doubt between the talent from Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss got probably 15 or 20 kids that can play. Georgia's got 40 that can play, and I think that's going to be the main difference in that ball game.
Yep. That.
Anything as far as what they'll do selection wise out of this league? Just right before we let you go, if you had to guess right now, what 3 teams? Just say. Just forget the Alabama LSU game. Who else gets in the league? It gets into 12.
Well, I think without a doubt,
does a loser of Georgia, Ole Miss get in? If it's Georgia, they still do. But if it's Ole Miss, they don't.
I think because of where Georgia started, if that game's close and Ole Miss to slip up and win, that would ensure Ole Miss to get in. If Ole Miss loses by 1 point, they're out. I think the loss to Kentucky probably early on sealed their fate. They know they've got to win in Oxford, and I think that's some of the stuff that's caused Lane to stick back out and step back into the picture on making comments about how the games were played or when time they were played, that kind of thing. He's looking for an edge right now, and that crowd I think is going to be it'll be as many people in the Groves as will be in the stadium on Saturday, and he knows that. So whether he's going to stay or not, it's a lot of people already had him gone even before the thing at Florida started bubbling up.
I'll ask Barry and you both this: does Alabama go to a bowl if they lose?
I think they'll go. I think they'll get a bowl game. Yeah, I think even inconsistency if they lose.
Will they decline the bowl?
Would they be invited to a bowl? I mean, I know would they have a bowl that's decent? I'm not talking about the Birmingham Bowl. I mean a decent bowl.
I mean, I would think whatever the highest tier bowls are that don't have a playoff game would want Alabama. I think
the crowd, the people that follow, the amount of people. That's one of the reasons Alabama was taken last year in the playoff situation, mainly because the number of people. I saw the numbers. The reason Florida State didn't get in. Florida State was the average number of people that watch Florida State play on national TV is 45 million. The average people that watch Alabama is like 15 or 20 million, and that's a national game. So people they've got the following and create the following. Now, if they lose, they're going to get. I think they'll get the highest rated bowl outside the playoff.
Whether they'll want the fans will go or not. No, that's a different. I don't know. They'll go. Texas A&M. They got they've lost 2. They've got New Mexico State at Auburn and Texas at home. If they went out and go 10-2, man, you could have a lot of 10-2 teams. So 10-2,
right.
Texas would be 10-2. Alabama, if they went out, could be 10-2. Georgia, if they lose at Ole Miss, could be 10-2. There'll be a lot of 10-2s that they got to choose from.
But you know what, Barry? That's remember if you look at it and think about it, this movement to where they've gone to create this 12-game playoff is kind of headed toward the way the NFL works. How many teams, you go back and look at the NFL? I mean, you got some teams in the NFL that make the playoffs that have lost 5 or 6 ball games during the year. And I really think that that's the way they're headed. And what this thing all about is trying to get the teams in there that will be the most interesting that can play against each other to draw the crowds. It's basically all about the money. And that's what the NCAA has done, and I think allowing this to happen, and they've got the bowl committee now that's going to put these teams together, and the numbers for this first year is going to be astronomical.
Should there be a cap on how many teams from one league can make it? Say, hey, the most you can have is 4.
I think probably. I think there will be. I don't know whether they'll take it this year. I've never heard that so far this year because the SEC and the Big Ten, that going in was predicted would have the most teams. But why they went to 12, is try to get, the TCUs and this, that next level down involved in so they could get a little share of the money. And I think Boise State's going to be that team this year. Well, it looks like they got probably one of the best running backs in the country. He's leading the nation in rushing yards right now. So they think that group on the West Coast would probably follow a team like Boise State right now. But I think it's all about the way it's promoted, and then I think it's all about the following of that individual teams. And other than Oregon out there on the West Coast, I don't know anybody else that's going to be able to step in and play that would draw a crowd right now.
Yeah, should be interesting. I think this first poll is critical. And there's
it is
because there's a lot of these teams don't play each other, and so where you put them right now is going to be critical. So
it goes back to what we started. Yeah, I think it goes back to when Coach asked about that question a while ago. It's where you start with this first poll, and if you out of that top 12 in the first poll, and even though you maybe have one loss right now, certainly if you have 2, you'll never get any further out. But if you went out against some decent competition, you may slide into number 10, 11, 12, particularly if somebody in that top 12 loses. So I think there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of observation, a lot of comments about that, and that bowl committee, in my opinion, certainly needs to look at the strength of schedule and who lost their quarterback, who got hurt along the way. Whether that makes a difference or not, I do think that would need to be considered.
Yep, no doubt. All right, Max, anything big this weekend? You cooking for people watching this big LSU-Alabama game and Ole Miss, Georgia? Big weekend of college football.
Well, it is, and you know what? I'll tell you all this. I'm so glad because my main core of guys, guess what? They leaving Thursday going to Colorado to deer hunt.
Oh.
It's 8 of them, and they driving 1,401 miles from Fulton, Mississippi to on the west side of Colorado in the mountains, and it's snowing out there this morning. Now, how would you like to go stay 5 days in the mountains or in a camp, atmosphere, just to knock down a big buck?
Put me down for not going.
I told him Motel 6 and a double bed is that's as bad as I want to roof it right now.
Well, we'll talk to you Monday, Max. There are going to be some happy fan bases, and there are going to be some sad fan bases, and one of them's going to be in Baton Rouge, and one of them's going to be in Tuscaloosa.
I agree.
And maybe
I can't wait.
in Oxford.
Anyway. I can't. We got the football world right here around. From listeners around your program. So I can't wait till next Monday morning to talk about it.
Thank you, Max. Have a great week.
Max. Appreciate it.
Fine. Thank you, guys.
All right, we want to thank Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. They bring you this 7 o'clock hour They do it for us each and every day. And I always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Phone lines will be open when we get back, 205-342-9904. Doug Bell will join us at 8:15. I'll have to scratch up Doug's picks. I think I know how he did. I think he went back to being Doug Bell. You're just Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody. Coming up Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. The weekend is in the rearview mirror. We're looking ahead to Alabama and LSU. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV will join us. Also, Casey Smith on golf. Your phone calls as we get ready for the big one in the Bayou. That's the Gary Harris Show, Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, we are showing some improve on 2059. That earlier accident, keyword earlier, which was right around University Boulevard, has cleared. Between University and Kings Mill Road, we had a lot of ruckus there. But again, that accident is cleared, so no worries.
Is the place to be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Checking Sunday's action from Week 9 in the NFL. The Bills edge the Dolphins 30-27 on a last-second field goal in the game of the day. Buffalo 7-2 with the win. Lions over the Packers 24-14 in Green Bay in the matchup of the day. Detroit 7-1 with the win. Green Bay 6-3 with the loss. Falcons over the Cowboys 27-21. Atlanta 6-3. Dallas loses the game, and quarterback Dak Prescott and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb to injury. Rams pull out a 26-20 overtime win over the Seahawks in Seattle. Ravens rout the Broncos 41-10. Baltimore is 6-3. Commanders are 7-2 after beating the Giants on the road 27-22. Sunday night it was the Vikings beating the Colts 21-13. Minnesota's at 6-2. Eagles are 6-2 after beating the Jaguars 28-23. Chargers down the Browns on the road.
At RexMD.com, we've made the process fast, easy, and affordable. Visit RexMD.com right now to get started. That's REXMD.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today, the high 79. Tonight, mostly fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Wednesday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine both days with a chance of scattered showers. Afternoon highs very close to 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Knipper. Andrew's my agent. Let him become yours. He's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. You're looking for home, life, auto, whatever you need. You want that backing of a great agency, Allstate Insurance. You also want to have somebody that knows your area inside and out, and Andrew and his staff do that as well. 205-722-9201. Do what I did. Make the change and switch over to Allstate Insurance with Andrew Knipper. We'll get to the Allstate hotline here in just a second. Alabama takes on UNC Asheville. 22-10 last year. Mike Morrell is the coach at UNC Asheville. He has a background of work, at Texas. He was there from 2015 to 18. Was at VCU with Shaka Smart. Does a really good job with his team there. Alabama should pretty much have all hands on deck except for young blood tonight. So the interesting thing will be the rotation tonight. Alabama, I think, is a 25-point favorite. The only thing I don't like about, they have to get all these games on TV. I get it, but it's a late start, 8 o'clock on a school night. It's difficult for families to take their kids and all to the game. It's done just for TV. You got, I think, Kentucky tipping off at 6, and the Alabama game right after that at 8. So I don't know what you do about that, but that is late for a Monday night, so that might affect the crowd some. But if you have tickets, then make sure you give them to somebody so they can get out there. All right, to the Andrew Conifer hotline, get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Barry. Morning, Coach. How are y'all?
Good. How are you, bud?
Good. I think the athletic department screwed up with the basketball opener. They had Saturday open for football, and it would have been a much easier thing to go to the girls' game at 5 and then the men's game at 8. I mean, sometimes I just wonder.
Yeah, but I don't think college basketball could start then because nobody played. And so I think the season officially can start tonight.
Yeah, but it looks like to me it's a no-brainer to try to manipulate it to starting times where it's, and to your point,
I'm
a little
saying
bit more
them not playing Saturday is not Alabama. That's college basketball not letting you start until Monday.
I get it, but it's dumb.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying you can't blame that one on Alabama. Now, the 8 o'clock start, that's TV. You can blame that on TV and these guys making all the money. But the 8 o'clock start, if you live in Birmingham, you ain't coming to this game tonight, right? I mean, it's too hard. So
I mean, that's too late. I promised somebody to do something for them tomorrow, and I got no leeway. I got to sleep. But anyway, I didn't call about that. My question watching football this year is just crazy and entertaining as all get out. And but my question is, who in the gambling world, who benefits from this kind of any Saturday anybody can win and so forth and so on? What we have this year, who benefits in the gambling world?
I mean, I don't know that any. I mean, Vegas obviously sets the line where they're getting equal play on both sides. So they move that line up and down. So I don't. What do you mean? Who benefits? I don't know.
Well, I mean, does the general public lose more in this scenario, or what's the deal? I guess Vegas rakes in the money no matter what.
Yeah, I would think they move the lines. Now I would think probably most people here in this area are going to bet Alabama. They're going to bet Alabama regardless. So when Alabama loses, these people win. But across the country, I don't know that they're doing that. So the areas these guys are probably betting on their home team. And so the bookies do well when the home teams don't cover. But as far as Vegas, I think they move those lines and get equal bets on both sides, and they win the juice, and they don't care what happens, to be honest with you.
Do you think that game, Vandy and Auburn, was crazy? I kind of expected that outcome. Did you?
I just thought Auburn would.
Let me rephrase that. I'm not shocked at it. Let me put it that way.
I thought Auburn's defense was terrific. But
they were.
But, Hugh Freeze is supposed to be an offensive guru. They've had 2 weeks to get ready, and they just – I think one time Tom and Dad's off, he had to take care of some business, but it was like 3rd and 22, and they just ran the ball, and the fans started booing. And I don't blame – it was almost like they're playing so conservative now because they're worried about mistakes. When your record's like that, you got to just loosen it up and let it go, don't you? I think the more they lose, the more conservative he gets. I would get at that point, if I'm losing, I would just when I came up here to Tuscaloosa, I would let it hang out. What do you got to lose at this point? But they play so tight.
Correct.
They play so tight.
That's correct. Let me say this. It's a lot of Auburn people that are saying, they're done with him. Case in point, the penalty on the field goal that turned into being a touchdown for Vandy. You remember that series?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
The kid that tried to block the field goal and landed on and got a 15-yard penalty?
Yeah. Well, they said he jumped over the.
You can't land on the offensive player or some crap like that. But anyway, it's a rule violation. They got a penalty.
That's pretty cut and dry rule, though. You should know that. Why are you doing it?
That's the thing, and that they were saying coaching wise, somebody should have said, look, we won this series by them getting a field goal. Because now we can go down, if we score a touchdown, we win the game.
Yeah.
And they're saying stuff like that, and that's just, look, one example. That's not the only example, but one example of incompetence in coaching that Auburn, this is coming from Auburn fans, that Auburn fans have seen this year out of that staff. And they said that's the reason we're starting to question Freeze, is because we don't think, to your point earlier in the season, that this job is too big for him.
I thought Billy Napier maximized what he had against Georgia.
Absolutely.
So if you're a Florida fan, you hate to lose. But, I mean, starting quarterback goes down. But they were fighting, baby. They were in it, So as a fan, you're okay with that. But what Auburn did at home with 2 weeks to get ready to score 7 points.
And seen that offense before?
Yeah. But
they're the only team, I can kind of, it's no excuse for Alabama losing to Vandy, I don't think. But at any rate, you can kind of give them a little bit of leeway because they don't play against or hadn't played against that particular offense or whatever, which is a bad excuse, really, if you want to know the fact. But Auburn's played against them. They knew what Pavio could do.
But I thought their defense played well. It wasn't their defense.
It did. And you're right. That's a great point. But on top of that, to your point too, Mr. Offensive Genius should have been able to do something.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of how he's handled this season with the media and with the team. We'll see if he can. I don't think they're going to let him go, but I think the seat will be hot next year, Tom. So we shall see. Thank you, sir.
All right. See you, bud.
All right. We'll get to break here. We'll get Doug Bell in. We'll look at Doug's picks. Also find out did anything happen with the PGA Tour. Also, Doug will have a fresh new set of picks. So you don't ever know what Doug's going to do. Doug's sometimes hot, and most of the time he's not. But we'll talk to Doug when we get back. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, folks, we have bid that fond farewell to the accident on 2059. It was right around University Boulevard, so that's since cleared in that northeast direction, so you're all good to go. Now, moving on, Lurleen Wallace, we've got your rush to work down.
And socks. Call 205-339-7361 or stop by and see Rodney Johnson at B&B Sports at 1600 Lurleen Wallace Boulevard in Northport.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. As we prepare for opening night of Alabama basketball, here are some thoughts from men's basketball head coach Nate Oates.
We're finally getting here. It's been a long time. We've had a lot of practices all summer and fall. They give us 30 practices in the 6 weeks leading up to the game. We've got 28 under our belt, so we're going to give them tomorrow off and then go Saturday, Sunday. That's why we're meeting today. But we're excited that the exhibition games gave us a great opportunity to see ourselves against somebody else. I think we learned some things about us. We got exposed in some different areas.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
We've got you covered for tonight's doubleheader of Alabama basketball. The women's game tips off at 5 p.m. Central against New Orleans, followed by the men's game at 8 p.m. against UNC Asheville. Listen to the games on our full radio network, the Varsity Network app, as well as the Courtside Cam on all CTSN social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. You can do everything right there on the website. Look at the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory. Schedule a service. You can rent a Toyota. If you need to order a part, you can do that. Great idea. If you're going over to Baton Rouge, rent one of those Toyotas, Tuscaloosa Toyota. Take that thing over there. Try it out. You'll be very pleased. A lot of great deals on there. The 2025 Camrys are already out. You got great truck selections over there. The SUVs, the Grand Highlander is a hot vehicle. So swing by Skyland Boulevard or go to the website, TuscaloosaToyota.com. All right, we're going to get right to the Tuscaloosa Toyota hotline. He is with PGA Tour Live. CBS Sports Headquarters joins us every Monday to talk a little PGA Tour. Also, he's a handicapper. He'll pick some games for you. We'll look back at his weekend and how he did. Douglas Bell. Good morning, Doug. How are you, sir?
Hey, Barry. Great to hear from you. And what a big week this is for a lot of reasons, right? But I'm excited to be with you this morning.
Yeah, it is college football. Wow. Big weekend. There'll be some really happy fan bases that'll still be in it, and there'll be some that'll feel like the Final 12's out and they won't care about bowl games. But we'll get into that here in just a second. The PGA Tour goes to Cabo this week. Talk about what's going on there.
Well, big news really in golf, Barry. But, yeah, that tournament, the Worldwide Technology Championship, it's been in Cabo now for 3 or 4 years. Bounced around a couple other spots in Mexico. It's after a week off, and there's only 2 tournaments after this one in Bermuda and the RSM Classic before the 2024 season comes to a conclusion. And there's not any what you would refer to as quote-unquote big names playing really over the next 2 weeks. Some of the guys play at the RSM because they live over there in Sea Island. But this is a week in Cabo where a guy like Trey Mullinax, former Alabama golfer, who's on a rehab deal, major medical, trying to come back. This will be his 3rd start in the fall, and he's played decent. He's made a couple of cuts, but for a guy like Trey, this is a big time opportunity. He could go in there and get a top 10 finish or something of that magnitude. It could really turn his whole thing around, even though he gets some starts now because of the major medical. But that's where we are, Barry. 3 events left in 2024. And then the other big news, Barry, is that it appears the PGA Tour and LIV have, and this report broke yesterday, have finally come to an agreement. Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have been the people behind this inside the boardroom. And apparently what's going to happen, Barry, PIF, the organization that represents LIV from Saudi Arabia, they will give the PGA Tour $2 billion to get 11% of the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour will sanction all of the LIV tournaments, and the PIF has also agreed to give a large amount of money to the DP World Tour, which takes that kind of out of the bailiwick, the bank, if you will, the PGA Tour. So in essence, LIV has bought their way into the PGA Tour, and we don't know what that means because they have not released the particulars as to the crossover play.
So that will that allow the PGA, and you probably don't know this, the PGA Tour players to play in LIV tournaments?
That's we're waiting to hear that. And they're very well could happen.
What benefit would it be for them to give them $2 billion or whatever you said if they don't get something out of it? I mean, they got to pick up.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, what LIV's going to get out of it, Barry? They get 2 seats on the board, the PGA Tour board, and their head guy will be the chairman of the PGA Tour policy board, if you will. So, in essence, they will have 2 significant seats at the negotiating table from here on. and they own 11% of the product. And, $2 billion sounds like a lot, right? But everything I've read, the PIF organization from Saudi Arabia, they're worth many trillions of dollars. So when they were negotiating, I think the PGA Tour, in essence, could have thrown any figure out there, but settled for $2 billion. And so, again, Barry, 2020, the next year, 2025 season, is the schedule's made for both the PGA Tour and LIV. And so the only structure that could change would be potentially if between now and the start of the season they come out and say, all right, we're going to have crossover, et cetera, et cetera. That's probably not going to happen. But the significant thing, Barry, this is the deal to answer your question. It looks like that since all of the LIV events will be sanctioned by the PGA Tour, then all the LIV events will get world ranking points. And so all the players on LIV who have now fallen out of the top 30 in the world, which gets you the automatic invite into all the majors, they will now get world ranking points for their tournaments. And that's what they wanted.
Do you think if there is some crossover as far as PGA guys playing in some LIV events, will that help them as far as getting a TV deal?
Well, and that's the other thing, Barry. Now that the PGA Tour will, in essence, sanction all these LIV events, then all these digital platforms, I think what we're going to see is right now you can go to ESPN Plus and catch any tournament all 4 days. They have all these streams, featured groups, featured holes, et cetera. I think now what we're going to see in the foreseeable future is LIV now will be on all those digital platforms. PGA Tour presents whatever PGA Tour event is going on, and the PGA Tour will present whatever LIV event is going on. So there's going to be, for the consumer, there's going to be a ton of golf on, and that's another answer to your question, how does it benefit LIV? They're now going to get exposure that they did not have before. I mean, just the mere fact that the PGA Tour now is going to sanction the LIV events, that's a really big deal. In essence, all the infighting, the swords are down, and they have seriously come to kumbaya. I mean, an agreement's been reached.
This is probably the thing I don't like about the ESPN Plus is you can't change channels. Like if you want to go,
right?
When you're watching, ABC and there's a commercial and you just want to flip to ESPN or SEC Network, you just flip around. But if you're watching on ESPN Plus, you got to get out of the app. That right. Stuff to me is just, I don't enjoy watching it, Doug, because I can't flip around. I'm a flipper, Doug. I'm a flipper. I like to flip, and I can't flip on the app.
No, I hear you. That's, and Barry, I hate to say it, that's kind of old school, But
I'm a flipper.
Because what? Yeah, you're a flipper. But I think what they're going now, everything is going digital and everything.
Well, they got to learn how to flip on digital then. How can we flip?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the perfect example is obviously the Masters is the highest rated tournament, and that's why CBS will never give it up. And Sunday at the Masters is the highest rated golf event. I mean, it has been for the last 50 years. Nobody watches more than the Masters on Sunday. But the Masters, several years ago decided, you know what, we need to get in on this digital platform. And their numbers are through the roof. People during the week, I mean, they're watching, if you want to watch every shot of...
But that's easier, though, because they're all on the app. So you can just go to, if you want to watch Amen Corner, if you want to watch the select group, but you don't have to get out of the app to get to you don't have to do all that, Doug.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah,
so, you're sounding more like Coach every day, Barry.
Oh, God. So that doesn't bother you, Doug?
Well, I'm just kind of used to it, and it's just kind of it's one of those things that I'm with you. It's kind of like, God, I got to get out because I want to go check the score of this other thing, or I want to go watch a little bit of this other thing, and then you have to get all the way back in. And it's not easy, but I do think in the future now things will smooth out, or at least I hope so.
One of the biggest nightmares phone calls you'll ever get, Doug, is when Dad calls you and tells you he got logged out of the app.
Oh, believe me, I've gotten those calls before.
Oh, my gosh.
And I don't know how to help him.
And you're trying to tell him how to get logged back in.
I've been there. I've been there, done that.
Not good.
And I'm not exactly a tech guy, right?
Yeah,
and so he's asking,
I'm not either. And my poor kids, they fight over who's going to answer the phone. So hopefully he's not listening.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, let's go. You were 3-0 last week, Doug. 3-0. And you were hot, and then you had to pick more games, and then so we had Air Force and Army. You were believing in Army. You said, Lord, Doug, 23.5. Could you not have found another game? Army did win, but they only won by 17. So, Chase, that would be a loss. Let's give it. All right.
Well, and Barry,
yes.
the Army quarterback, the starter who's had an incredible year, they announced Saturday that he wasn't going to play. They were going to rest him. So, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
My pick was in. The backup was good, but he wasn't as good, and so, they didn't cover.
Well, when you got the line's 23 and you only scored 20, that's not good.
I know.
All right, Dad did another blue plate. He hit 2 blue plates this week. He hit Tulane on Thursday night, and then they were saying you got to keep going so you can go over 500, and I guess he copied off your paper. He took Indiana. I was worried about him at 10-0. You didn't need that. That was a nothing. 47-10. Indiana. You had Indiana -7. So ching him up for a win there, Chase. That's a win. All right, and then Arkansas and Ole Miss.
My goodness.
You were believing in Sam Pittman. Lane Kiffin. I think he was trying to get style points here. One of the tiebreaker criteria is scoring margin. Well, he made sure that he would be leading in that. You had Arkansas +6.5 at home. I thought Arkansas was going to win too, so I'm not going to make too fun of you there. But that was not close. I ain't even going to tell you. It was not good. So that runs that record. Let's see, 15, 14, and 1. So you're still in the money, Doug. You're still in the money.
Yes.
15, 14, and 1. So.
Oh, we're looking good, Barry. We're looking good, as
now,
always.
this weekend, buddy, there are some good games this weekend, I think. It might be the best weekend of the year. Now, tomorrow night's going to be big. And I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about where these teams are ranked tomorrow. They probably have Alabama around 11 and LSU around 13, 14, knowing that the loser's going to fall out and the winner can slide in. So, but where are you going this week, Doug? I'm interested to hear what you're liking this week.
Well, and I'll always tell you, best teams against the spread, and I've won with them all year, and your dad won last week too. Indiana 8-1 against the spread this season. They're the best in college football. Minnesota, by the way, 7-1-1. BYU having a dream season, 7-1 against the spread, and Vandy and South Carolina, guys, best in the SEC, 6-2 against the spread. The worst team, by the way, Arizona 1-8, Air Force 7-0 against the spread. Georgia, by the way, 2-6 against the spread. They're winning, but they're not covering.
What is Auburn against the spread? They can't be good against the spread either. All those home games they've lost.
I believe they're 3-6 against the spread, so they're having a bad year. But the reason I give you that is because there's trends involved here in these picks. And let me tell you now, Michigan, the aforementioned Michigan, and the aforementioned Indiana. Michigan at Indiana. Barry, this is from the old brass spittoon. Got to love that, right? Indiana, 9-0, undefeated, 6-0 in the Big Ten. They've never been this good before. Even the 67 Rose Bowl team only started 8-0 before they dropped the game. This is unprecedented territory for Indiana. They're the best story in college football, and now they take on the defending national champions. Barry, what's the spread there, Michigan, Indiana?
14.
14. Yeah. I love it. Hoosiers cover at home. Remember last week they were down 10-0.
Yeah.
And then just steamrolled Michigan State. I think they're going to win the old brass spittoon. I'd love to see that little trophy too, by the way. Indiana covers big time at home against Michigan and keeps this train rolling. All
right, Indiana 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten, taking on Michigan 5-4. They're 3-3. The game is on CBS at 2:30, so that's going to be a 2 TV game because you got Georgia and Ole Miss at 2:30 as well. So 2 great games there at noon to warm up, get you some chili, and warm up before that Alabama LSU game. All right, what you got second game?
All right, this is a little, you're talking about all the great games, and I saw them, but this one just popped on me. Arizona State is having a really good year under the radar. They won at Oklahoma State last Saturday. The Sun Devils are 4-2 in the Big 12, 4-0 at home. I mean, they're having a really good season. They take on the Gus Malzahn train, the Gus bus, and it's struggling right now as they delve into this Big 12 season. UCF 4-5, 2-4 overall. Arizona State, what's the spread there, Barry?
You got Arizona State -4 at the crib.
Yes. Yeah, this is my best pick of the week. I feel more confident about this than anything else. Arizona State covers at home against UCF.
Who's coaching at Arizona State? Do you know? I don't even know who's over there.
It's funny. I watched that game
was
the other
Herm
night.
Edwards. Obviously, it's not Herm Edwards anymore.
New coach took over a disaster NCAA probation, and I watched that game yesterday morning, the replay on Fox. Tell me I don't watch too much sports, and I was really impressed by Arizona State. That's why I'm hyped about this game.
One thing that I don't think people talk about, like Gus Bus, Arizona, these teams having to fly back and forth across the country, I think it's starting to wear on them. Arizona gets beat 56-12 to Gus Bus. But this traveling, these time zones, these teams are tired, Doug. So I think people have to look at that now when you start making these wagers.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And UCF now is stepping up, Barry. I mean, they've gone from, I think at one point they were CUSA, the American Athletic Conference, now the Big 12. So every step up in competition takes a little bit away. And right now they're being exposed, UCF. So, I like Arizona State.
Yeah, and you hear the talk now is people are mad or disappointed that Auburn let Gus go. They didn't know how good they had it with Gus. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
all right,
times were a little different.
All right, lastly, you got that one, Chase. Arizona State -4. All right, go ahead. Last game.
I had to pick Alabama at LSU. The Tide is 2.5-point favorite. That's what I got right now. And Barry, it's interesting. I've been to so many great games down at LSU. I remember when I was doing a lot of work there for Alabama. I go down there with Coach Stallings' bunch, and Sean Alexander, this talented freshman, goes for over 200 yards. It was just like, wow. And I remember A.J. McCarron throwing the pass to T.J. Yeldon with time running out. Just so many great moments for Alabama at LSU, and I think they're going to have more on Saturday. Listen, they shut out Missouri. I know that's not that impressive, but when you can shut out a Southeastern Conference team and show improvement defensively, I think Milroe is due for a bounce-back game. Remember, they played really good at night against Georgia. I know that was at home, but I like Alabama to cover and keep their playoff hopes alive and eliminate LSU from playoff consideration. This is a big game, Barry. This is an absolutely huge game if you want to make that Final 12. And that's what you said. It's a big weekend because of the 12-team playoff. All these teams are still trying to jockey for position, and I think Alabama solidifies theirs because I think you beat LSU, you win those final three relatively easy, and I think you're going to get a bid there at 10-2. And remember, you beat LSU on the road. You still got the win against Georgia in your back pocket. Alabama will actually be looking really, really good after the win against LSU this Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, flip over to hoops. Sometimes this early hoop season, you can get you some good lines and get you some wins. Alabama takes on UNC Asheville tonight. Now the line when we started the show was 25.5. It's already gone up a point. 26.5. Do you like college basketball? You like betting college basketball, or is that too
I
risky?
do. No. Early it's kind of risky because, as you said, it's now 26.5, and clearly Alabama is a much better basketball team than UNC Asheville. Much bigger team, faster team. I mean, Alabama's loaded, and UNC Asheville is just a, middle of the road team in their own conference. I would, if you were going to ask me, hey, I need a pick, I would go Alabama to cover. But I just think there's so many variables when they play. He's going to play everybody tonight. And I would say the last probably 8 minutes of the game will be, second and third team guys.
But there's not much drop off when you start playing everybody in Alabama.
Boy, they're good, aren't they? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the season, Barry, basketball. And, I don't know if you feel it, but usually November basketball is almost just by the way, there's basketball tonight. But there's been a lot of hype for college basketball now. And maybe because some coaches have changed. Kentucky new coach Cal's at Arkansas, UConn going for 3 in a row. Nate Oates has the football family at Alabama excited about basketball, and I think they are going to go to another Final Four, barring some crazy injury here or there. I don't know. I think college basketball is getting more pub now this November than it has in many, many years. I don't know exactly why, other than the fact that I think people are I think they're thirsty for good college basketball. And you know what, Barry? I'm not so sure people are pumped up about the NBA anymore. I just think that's losing.
I know I'm not.
Yeah. I tried to watch some games last. It's just, golly, they shoot so many 3-point shots.
Yeah, that dog and pony show they're trying to shove down your throat with Bronny James, who shouldn't even be. He's not even a good college player playing in the NBA. One interesting game tonight is Missouri is at Memphis, and we saw Memphis and Alabama. That line's only 4.5 at Memphis. Boy, I tell you what, Missouri, if they can make free throws, that might be something interesting to look at there. But some pretty good games tonight.
Yeah, what a big game that is, huh? For the opener.
Yeah.
And Missouri coming off a tough season, obviously.
Yeah.
But they got an influx of some new players, et cetera. I met Penny Hardaway at the golf tournament, the FedEx St. Jude Classic up there. He played in the Pro-Am. He's a pretty impressive guy. He really is. And I think he's done a decent job at Memphis, and I think he has a pretty good team this year. I tend to take the home team in that game.
Yeah. All right, tell us about MD Wellness and Aesthetics before we let you get out.
Yeah, absolutely. MD Wellness and Aesthetics, 650 Inverness Corners right there in Birmingham, 205-582-9216. Susan Brignett is the owner. She's open today. It's a free consultation, but today is the day that she and Dr. Mancuso do a lot of the actual medical procedures, the Botox, the filler, the facials, the laser treatments. But still give her a call or just check it out on mdwellnessaesthetics.com. And Barry, I always tell everybody, it's not just for the ladies. A lot of guys go in there, too. We all want to look better ourselves, right?
Chase, did you hear that he called me old during this segment?
No.
You did. Hey, I am. So it is what it is.
That's fake news, Barry.
It is. Just like but that app, you got to exit out of it, and it's just not convenient, Doug. So I'm not watching games on my computer. I'm not doing that.
No, I'm with you there. I can't do that.
Yeah. No. So have a great week. Have a great week.
Right,
Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.
See you,
bye. Bye-bye.
All right, he's awesome. Doug Bell is the best. He sounds like Liv in the PGA Tour. $2 billion. That PIF fund, they got that in the ashtray. If you're looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by your name, we invite you to get to know the friends down at Bryant Bank. With 4 locations in the Tuscaloosa area, you can experience unbeatable service and legendary results close to home. Need a bank that offers balance of great service and the latest technology? Then Bryant Bank is the answer for you. I know Dad and those guys have a great relationship, and we appreciate Bryant Bank being a great sponsor on Inside the Locker Room. So swing by there today, any one of the 4 locations. Let's look at all those products and services they had and tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you. Phone lines will be open the rest of the show, 205-342-9904. You're listening to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, it's just beautiful in the city right now. We're looking at pretty much construction zones and not really even too much of a delay. Now, I do see something on 2059, and this is in the southwest direction at 359. Construction work here that may cause you, or it definitely is causing you just
covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and
a place to be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today, the high 79. Tonight, mostly fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Wednesday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine both days with a chance of scattered showers. Afternoon highs very close to 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 69 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker. Also tonight, Christy Curry's team will take the court at 5 o'clock. So a doubleheader over there tonight. They take on the New Orleans Privateers. Christy Curry's done a nice job with this basketball program there. So get out and support the women. The game will be at 5, so you can have dinner out there at Coleman Coliseum. Might cost you about $100, but you can have dinner out there at Coleman. And then Alabama, UNC Asheville will hit the court at 8 o'clock. That game is on ESPNU. Tonight at 8 o'clock. The other SEC basketball tonight, Gardner-Webb will be over at Tennessee. Of course, I've been complaining about ESPN Plus. All these games are on ESPN Plus. Pretty nice game here. Texas A&M will take on Central Florida. Johnny Dawkins, the coach at Central Florida. Texas A&M, I think, going to be one of the better teams in the SEC. They are playing that game in Orlando. Wright State will take on Kentucky. I think the Kentucky fans are excited about Mark Pope and what he's got going. The style of play will be a lot different than what John Calvin. They'll shoot a ton of threes. So it'll be interesting to watch Kentucky. Pretty much lost the entire roster. The line on this game tonight of Kentucky is Kentucky 19.5-point favorite. It'll be interesting to see if they can cover that. North Florida will take on South Carolina. South Carolina was one of the surprise teams last year in the SEC. That game will be on the plus. West Georgia will travel over to Mississippi State to play those guys. That's on the plus as well. Tennessee Tech will take on Georgia tonight. Maryland Eastern Shore will take on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt with a new coach there is a 24.5-point favor against Maryland Eastern Shore. I already told you about Chase. I'm interested in this game. Missouri and Memphis. I may have to go to the plus to watch this game. Memphis currently a 4.5-point favorite. This game is in Memphis. Memphis was big and athletic. They just foul everything. So they won't get 7 and 8 fouls tonight. They'll have to hold them to 5. So hopefully they've worked on playing without fouling. Another interesting game tonight on the SEC Network. South Florida, the tragic loss of their head coach. Wow, Shane, what a great guy he was. 43 years old, passed away, I guess, about a week ago. And boy, I feel for those players. They got to kind of get together. That game can go either way. They're playing in Jacksonville tonight. They're taking on the Florida Gators. I want to watch that game, Chase, because I want to see this kid that's 7'9" play for Florida tonight. And that game will be on the SEC Network. Florida currently is a 10.5-point favorite in that particular ball game. Long Island will travel to Ole Miss and take on the Rebels. The Rebels 27.5-point favorite. We talked about Asheville, Alabama. Lindenwood will take on my boy Porter Mosier in Oklahoma. This game's in Norman, 25.5-point favorite. And then Texas tonight, if you can stay up. Good game here in Vegas. Texas in Ohio State. That game is on TNT and True TV, it says here. Currently, Texas is a 2.5-point favorite in that particular game. I think there is another really good top 25 game, Chase. I'm looking for it. Gonzaga is taking on, who are they playing tonight? I'm pulling this up. Gonzaga, that'll be down here towards the bottom. I'm sorry. I'm looking for, Gonzaga takes on Baylor tonight on ESPN2. That game's in Spokane. So there's a pretty nice, but I won't see it. That game's at 10:30 tonight. Chase, you excited about some college hoops starting tonight.
I love college basketball.
Yeah.
Like, especially kind of getting introduced to that Mississippi State. Like, we weren't really good at it, but being able to cover the games and everything, I kind of got to see the ins and
your
outs.
Mississippi State basketball team is going to be a lot better than your football team, so you should be able to enjoy maybe a little bit of. You'll get you a W tonight. All right, we'll take this last break and then come back and wrap up the show, get out of the way for the Gary Harris Show. You're listening to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody. Coming up Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. The weekend is in the rearview mirror. We're looking ahead to Alabama and LSU. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV will join us. Also, Casey Smith on golf. Your phone calls as we get ready for the big one in the Bayou. That's the Gary Harris Show, Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, it's just beautiful in the city right now. We're looking at pretty much construction zones and not really even too much of a delay. Now, I do see something on 2059, and this is in the southwest direction at 359. Construction work here. That may cause you, or it definitely is causing you.
Pickup or enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly sunny today, the high 79. Tonight, mostly fair with the low at 64. Tomorrow and Wednesday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine both days with a chance of scattered showers. Afternoon highs very close to 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, so right now, Chase, the weather forecast in Baton Rouge, considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers, continued very warm. Should be 81 is the high there, but chances of rain around 50%. So it could be a wet, sloppy game there in Baton Rouge. Now, who that favors, I don't know. Alabama has not run the ball very well this year. A lot of times you wouldn't need to be able to run it, and then maybe that'll force them to run it. But we'll see what that hurricane does down there. Just kind of update people. Dad was on and off today. You guys know my mom had a fall. She's just dealing with some tough circumstances there with the fall. So any prayers for her would be greatly appreciated. She's a great lady, and you people that know her know how sweet and all. So it's tough to see her like this. So trying to figure out the best things to do for her and to help her, start getting around better. But more importantly, mentally, just to not give up. It's been quite a chore there. So he's going to be in and out on the show here, just trying to deal with those. So we appreciate any thoughts and prayers there as far as she is concerned. Chase, we appreciate you taking care of us this morning. The Gary Harris Show is next, so keep it locked in here all day. Alabama hoops tonight. We'll break down the game. We'll hear some NATO sound tomorrow. Also, I know Coach DeBoer and the coordinators will meet today, so we'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow. Kevin Skarbinski will join us at 7:30. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.